Well, as far as the markets are concerned, quite strong going, and let's talk about the closing bell and the markets in general. This broadcast is right now live on Money Control, and if you talk about the markets, yes, we have been consolidating for the past few trading sessions, but today it was a fantabulous Friday. In fact, Sensex rose by nearly 466 points, whereas Nifty moved by nearly 140 points. As far as Nifty Bank is concerned, for the last two trading sessions, we have seen some significant losses and underperformance coming in there, especially in the PSU banks. But today, look at how the momentum is there. Nifty Bank up by full 500 points. Nifty mid and small cap indices also up anywhere between 0.5% to 1%. So very good going as far as Indian markets are concerned. Advance decline ratio was also stable, more or less at 1:1. Today we had a new listing, EQ Lighting, and that stock rose by nearly 40% to its issue price of 285. The shares settled close to 404 rupees a piece. So good going as far as the new listing EQ is concerned. Today, sectorally, barring real estate and IT, all the sectors were in the green, especially PSU banks, media, FMCG, and pharma stocks made a comeback. All of the indices rising anywhere between 0.8% to almost 1.5%. Let's talk about the market stats. Nifty 50, HDFC Life, SBI Life, and Bajaj Finserv. So the insurance companies moved quite aggressively in trade today. In fact, HDFC Life shares moved by nearly 5.5%, followed by SBI Life and Bajaj Finserv, which moved anywhere between 2 to 3%. Also, Dr. Reddy's and Titan were the top gainers in trade today. What was not doing well is the IT pack. We had the JP Morgan cautious note this week, and also today we had one of the deal cancellations by insurance giant with respect to TCS's contract, post which the shares of TCS fell by nearly 1.5%. Also, the likes of Wipro, Infosys were down. In the auto pack, we had Bajaj Auto, which fell nearly 1.5%, and we'll come to the reasons later in the show. But yes, there was some bit of selling pressure there. Stocks like Titan, Britannia, ITC, NTPC, Nestle hit fresh 52-week high in trade today. Let's talk about the mid-cap end of the market also, because a lot of action was seen there. We had the like of Kalyan Jewellers after 6.5% equity traded in a block trade. We had the stocks which moved nearly 15%. Defense stocks, remember next week PM Modi is in the US, and there is a possibility that there could be a big defense cooperation and agreement between US and India, especially to do with the jet engine deal, wherein technology transfer is also involved. So most of the defense stocks would be active in trade next week as well. Mazgaon Dock from the defense pack was holding high as much as 12.5%. On the losing side, we had Lodha, Crompton Consumer, and Aster DM. All of these stocks losing anywhere between 4 to 5%. We had a lot of our Indian stocks plunge in trade after the devaluation which was initiated by the Nigerian government. Now, Nigeria is one of the very large economies in Africa, and a lot of Indian companies have exposure to these African companies as well as African consumers. Talking about the currency devaluation, a lot of Indian companies having exposure to Nigeria would face some bit of headwinds. Which are those companies? Starting with Bajaj Auto, little less than 10% of their sales come in from the Nigerian exports. Now, why Nigeria is an important market for Bajaj Auto? Because two-wheelers are treated as taxis there, and a significant amount of exports to Africa are done by Bajaj Auto. Given the fact that the currency gets devaluated by 30%, the imports become expensive, and hence there could be some sales impact for Bajaj Auto. Apart from that, TVS Motors and Godrej Consumer, their overall sales exposure to Nigeria is around 5 to 7%. Obviously, the impact is minimal, but both TVS Motors as well as Godrej Consumer traded in the red. Finally, coming to Bharti Airtel, wherein Airtel Africa, which is one of the major subsidiaries, 43% of their EBITDA comes in from one country, that is Nigeria. On an overall basis, obviously the impact is quite limited for Bharti, up to 4% of EBITDA, but yes, there is some impact because of the currency devaluation which this African nation has initiated. So Nigeria, Naira issue has been big, and these are the 4-5 companies to focus on. Apart from that, let's also talk about another auto stocks, which is Ashok Leyland. Now, Ashok Leyland hosted their investor day come analyst meet. Very good response. The shares of Ashok Leyland, as you can see on your screen, was up 5%, closed about the nearest day high. And there were 3-4 main reasons because of which brokerages were bullish on the stock of Ashok Leyland, wherein targets are coming in excess of 175 rupees per share. Number one is the margin expansion guidance. The management believes that from here on, the growth which is on a profitable mode is more important versus the volumes of commercial vehicles sold. So profitability will be a preference and margin expansion will be a preference for Ashok Leyland. Number two, defense contract. The way defense contracts have been awarded, 80% of the defense contracts get converted for Ashok Leyland. So a significant amount of mobility truck business of the defense sector should come into Ashok Leyland according to the management. Number three is the importance really of the commercial vehicle market share. The company believes in the light commercial vehicle segment. North India and East India are the segments wherein they are looking at good demand and market share gains. On an overall basis, given that the management commentary was quite good, the shares of Ashok Leyland saw some good rally in trade, which is expected to continue obviously because as I mentioned earlier, the brokerages are expecting targets for Ashok Leyland to be in excess of 175 to 180 rupees per share. So good management commentary, and obviously next week, as I mentioned earlier, we will focus on the Indo-US defense deal as well as the Indo-US relationship, which could be changing very fast in the era wherein there is a lesser dependence on Russian arms and more importance or weight is given to the Western countries, especially in the light where we had a submarine deal with Germany, we had the Rafale deal with France, and now probably we could have the jet engine deal with US. Let's see what the President of the US and Prime Minister of India has to say on 21st of June, wherein PM Modi reaches US for the historic events, as well as next 3 days. We could also see other sectors like auto as well as semiconductors in focus, because there also we are expected to get more US cooperation. Enjoy your weekend. Markets are knocking the door of record highs. Probably next week we could be at record highs on Nifty as well as Sensex. Hold your horses, and for all your news, views and updates relating to the stock markets, stay tuned to Money Control and CNBC Awaaz.